What's up, everybody? It is the Best Spot Kid Smooth, and I am back with another video. And today I'm going to be talking about Biomutant. Yes, Biomutant. I know this game is over a year old. Came out on the Xbox One and PS4. This was like one of those late generation games that came out at the start of the next generation, and it was a good game to test, but it never had like a proper next gen version, and that's ultimately the reason why I didn't play the game in this full potential last year. So just to give you guys a little background, I actually received a review code for Biomutant when it came out. Started, couldn't get into it. It just 2021 was a great year for video games. A lot of good games came out that year. I played a whole ton of games and a ton of indies that piqued my interest, you know what I mean? So Biomutant was definitely on the radar, but I was a little bit disappointed that this game wasn't quite next gen ready. So I kind of just held off, finished through my catalog before, and we just waited around until the next generation. So now, a whole year later, THQ Nordic Experiment 101 announced their next generation version, and it released in September earlier this month. And these are like fully native next gen versions of the game. So the PS5 has the version, Series X got a version, and they're targeting 4K, 60 FPS. There's performance modes, there's quality modes available. So they've kind of like opened things up to sort of fully harness the next generation this time around. So as things in 2022 wind down, there's not that many compelling games this year. I decided to finally sit down and enjoy Biomutant in a way that is supposed to be played. And my second time around was a lot better. So Biomutant is an action role-playing game. It's like an action RPG game. You play as this little rat. I don't know if it's a rat, a raccoon, a cat, or whatever, a mouse, a muskrat. I don't know. But the world is void of any humans. There's no humans. It's just all like animals left in a world full of waste and biohazards and pollution. The world is intriguing, right? This game does a couple things that I enjoyed. So not only do you have like a big enough world for this size, right, where you have different environments that you're left to sort of like explore and loot, but in different hazard zones. So these hazard zones consisted of things that were environments that were too hazardous for your health, like poison areas. There were areas that were too cold, hinting climate change, to areas that were too hot, areas that are I can't think there's other areas. But the thing about the game, and once I kind of sat down and settled in and started to utilize my patience, is that the ability to find gear and to upgrade your armor to allow you to withstand certain conditions. So several hours into the game, I've had like armors that were fully equipped to go into water, fully equipped to go into heated environments, fully equipped to withstand poison and whatnot. And I just thought that was so intriguing. Now this game it was very diverse in this combat. They had hand-to-hand combat options, and they had range combat options with like guns and whatnot. You got little perks and stuff to help you get away. You unlock different materials like a little boat along the way. You unlocked different type of mounts along the way. You unlock different armor. The things that this game did well was building a world, and the witty way of storytelling. The whole entire game is narrated by this little robot companion that you have, and he narrates everything, and everything from the question that you ask as a protagonist to the answers that every NPC gives back. He narrates the situation. Now, not only does he narrate that, he narrates in general, and this is probably what threw people off about the game, because the game can be a little bit over narrated, and the game is also sort of pushing players towards choice. So the game wants you to feel like the game sort of never end. Like there's no right or wrong choice, and the game is pushing choice all throughout the gameplay. So everything's involves you making a good decision or a bad decision, entertaining the light side, entertaining the dark side. So if a game, there's plenty of RPGs where you get multiple endings and whatnot. This game really pushes you towards that, and sometimes to its detriment, it can get in a way. But the things that I do want to highlight about Biomutant is that its combat was very fun. The gameplay elements was fun. For a core gameplay standpoint, I thought it was great. I thought the visuals were okay. The story, the thing about the story gets thrown off because of the narration and because you see where the budget kind of kicks into place, where there's not really no voice acting, and the other NPCs, these important characters, are really limited to sounds and sound effects, and you get really their story and their scope by either reading or listening to their narrator tell what they're saying. He's like translating what they're saying to you. But I spent roughly 20, maybe 30 hours playing Biomutant. And I got to the point where once I got into the game and got into the loop, I was enjoying myself. Like I was really enjoying myself, and I couldn't put the game down, and I beat the game to completion. And there's things I still can go back and get, different side missions. It does have your typical Assassin's Creed kind of checklist work, fill up the map with a bunch of different icons, and and that could be interesting to go back to on a boring day. But it's overall, as the game itself, I thought it was a great game for what it was. And now this game was, I think it's on sale now, but I think the game kind of was a little bit overlooked. And I think the review scores was a little bit like sort of undeserving. And I think we got like a quality game that not many people paid attention to. And I definitely if I have to talk about it a year later, I definitely have to recommend Biomutant. It's probably one of the best experiences that I had for a video game this year. I know it came out last year, but it had an opportunity to relaunch on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. I played it on the Xbox Series X. I mostly played in the performance mode, but there's also a quality unlock mode where the game is able to be native 4K and to reach unlock frame rate, which on the Xbox Series X it actually maintained 60 most of the time, except for when I went into like a lot of the grassy areas, it would tank the frame rate a little bit down to about like 49, 50 FPS. But playing on a VRR display, it definitely helped a lot. And then when I felt things were getting too drastic, I just switched it over into performance mode, which drops the resolution to 1440p, but it locks it at 60 FPS, and it still gave off a clean look, and the performance was snappy. Definitely recommend playing it. So if you saw Biomutant on the internet, you saw it on YouTube, and you just couldn't pull the trigger on the game, if you see the game on sale, definitely give it a try. It's definitely worth the playthrough. I'm glad I played this version opposed to as playing it last year without the next gen enhancements, because I think I would have been very disappointed because the performance was shoddy with the last gen. I think they unlocked the frame rate, but it wasn't really taking advantage of the what Xbox could really do. So I think when you did the 60 FPS mode, you did it at like a much lower resolution, and then the frame rate was inconsistent. But now the performance is much better. The game's in a better place. I like the game. I don't plan on uninstalling it because I actually want to go back to the game for some of the side quests. The game has a ton of side quests. The main quest was pretty interesting, and the gameplay loop is fun and satisfying. If I had to put a score on Biomutant, man, I would have to give Biomutant probably for me, it was definitely a solid 8 out of 10. Please consider this is a THQ Nordic games. These THQ Nordic, I know they're big, Embracer Group, they're big, but they do a lot of mid-ware games. These games are extremely budgeted, but I think of what comes out of THQ Nordic, this was definitely a diamond in the rut and probably one of their best releases in a long time. So I definitely have to recommend Biomutant, especially for the next gen consoles if you haven't already. So shout out to THQ Nordic, shout out to Experiment 101. Biomutant was a Great game, an awesome concept that, you know, other developers really don't dive deep into. I love playing as, you know, a little miniature rat and just diving into this world and seeing everything that I can make. And this game was an awesome experience, and hope you guys enjoyed the review. That's the video. As always, Xbox is the best box. I am the best bot. Good night or good morning if you're on the other side of the globe. We're out of here. Peace.